When was the last time you went 15, 20 minutes without thinking about diabetes?
When I was 8 years old. Yeah, 6 years ago.
Constant presence.
Yeah.
Like 1.25 million Americans, Lauren and Louise are type 1 diabetics.
How long have you been a diabetic?
21 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 1998. I was 9 at the time.
How long have you had it?
Going on about 4 years. I was diagnosed in my 50s with type 1 diabetes.
Lauren has become an advocate for diabetics, working with the nonprofit T1 International. Her family lost their insurance soon after she was diagnosed.
Before I moved out of the house, my family was just always scrambling. We would get enough insulin for 1 month and then start planning again for the next month. We went to Canada a few times to get insulin and kind of stocked up there. I would get expired samples from my endocrinologist. And sometimes we would just meet people that had extra insulin because they were insured and would be willing to share some with us.
In 2007, the list price of 5 pens of Humalog, a common brand of insulin, was $147. By 2013, it had doubled in price to $295. And by 2017, it had almost doubled again. Before an insured diabetic meets their deductible, they would pay $530. There's another option. You can join the estimated 1 million American medical tourists who flock to Mexico every year for cheaper prescription drugs. Lauren does this regularly. Louise has never been. And I was interested in purchasing insulin too. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes soon after my 28th birthday.
Shall we go get some insulin?
Go to Mexico.
Let's go to Mexico. So, I saw on the internet that there are a bunch of these big ones that basically advertise for Americans.
Yeah.
And the websites are in English, and they say, come, we'll take your money.
Yes.
Your healthcare system's terrible.
Yeah.
And we're going to go find those guys.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, we're sure all of the insulin is actually insulin.
Yes. So a lot of people ask, oh, what's it like buying insulin from another country? But I know this is like going to come as a real shock to everyone, but people in Mexico have diabetes too and also need insulin. The formulas are the same. They're made by the same drug manufacturers. It's just cheaper.
You sell insulin?
We do.
Right? Okay. What do you need? Do you want to?
So, yeah, okay. I'll need, do you have vials, Humalog vials, or just the pens?
We have the pens.
Okay.
All right, so it comes one in a box, and then it sells $17.
For one pen?
For one pen.
I can get a pen of this for $17?
$17.
So, what?
Do you know of any apartments in Tijuana that I can rent?
The Novolog, right now, I'm paying $37.
You pay $37 for the Novolog.
My copay.
It's your copay. So this is cheaper than your copay. So this is $850 to $900 worth of insulin.
Yeah, the three.
And you're paying how much?
It's going to be
115.
115. So a 5-minute walk over the border saves you $800 and some odd dollars.
Yes. Yeah.
Rodrigo is an American citizen, but moved to Mexico to run this pharmacy with his family.
What percentage of people that come in here are American?
Probably the majority. It's ridiculous the amount of people. Like on a Monday, we'll get a good 900 tickets. So
Oh, wow.
that'll come through. I mean, it's too much. We couldn't handle it. The space was too small. That's why we had to open up over here.
So because of the crisis in American healthcare, you're expanding.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Well, it's great for you.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's so huge, the medical tourism here. Because, you have the border crossing. They opened a lane specifically for medical tourism.
Insulin is cheap in Mexico and Canada because those governments negotiate market access and prices without middlemen. But in the US, access to markets are controlled by pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, who manage drug benefits for insurance companies and employers. A PBM will allow drug companies access to their customers for a price. So drug companies offer PBMs bulk rebates on the price of insulin to sweeten the deal. But instead of these negotiations driving prices down, PBMs and pharmaceutical companies end up wildly inflating insulin list prices because higher prices mean bigger profits for the PBMs and insurance companies. Someone ends up pocketing the cash rebates, but a lack of transparency in the system means it's nearly impossible to track down where those savings end up. And it's patients, the one party who has no negotiating power, that ends up paying for this scheme. In the US, there are only 3 companies that make insulin: Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi, and they make up 90% of the global insulin market. Eli Lilly agreed to let us into their main production facility. The first time, they've allowed an outside camera crew in.
Each person needs one of these gowns.
This looks like a body bag.
The first place we're going to go is the isolation area. This is where we take the fermentation broth from another site, bring it down, and start to separate it.
It takes over 2 months to make a vial of insulin. It's a complicated manufacturing process that Lilly has invested $1.2 billion in since 2012.
So this is where we make insulin. There's 3 main manufacturing plants that are required for every gram of insulin, every vial of insulin that comes out. First is the insulin crystals.
But if you think of this just kind of a mound, I mean, this is millions of dollars worth of product in one of these tanks.
In one of these tanks.
That's, tens of millions of dollars every week of insulin being pumped through here and processed.
That's correct.
That's a lot.
Eli Lilly says their net price for a box of pens, which includes manufacturing, labor, research and development, regulatory fees, promotional expenses, insulin donations, and profits, is only $122 a box. The list price is $530. It's that difference between the list and net price that's causing problems.
What is one of these cost now? One of those guys.
I'm not able to tell you that.
How much does it cost the diabetic? How much would that cost me
You tell me.
Yeah, well, I have an insurance. If I did, just the list price of something like this is how much?
I think when you go and talk to Mike Mason afterwards, they'll talk about the pricing.
Don't
the
get cagey about prices. I mean, it's like, what, a couple $100, right?
No, I don't. Again, it depends on what people are paying from an insurance point of view.
In April, Mike Mason, Eli Lilly's senior vice president of insulins and connected care, talked insulin prices before Congress.
For starters, we have not increased the list price on insulin since 2017. But we recognize that the issue is more complex.
But Mason was only willing to talk to us off camera. He says there's not one cause for the high price or one solution. Like other insulin manufacturers, Lilly has various programs to help uninsured patients. In May, the company introduced a generic version of their own insulin, at half off the ordinary list price. George Huntley is the former chairman of the board at the American Diabetes Association. He now sits on the National Diabetes Volunteer Leadership Council.
How do we fix this?
The way you fix it is to break the system back, tear it apart. Best case, make the whole system illegal and force the discounts to be up front. Then it can be easily passed through and work like everything else in the medical world.
So why doesn't a company like Lilly just back out of this whole arrangement?
The manufacturer, the PBM, the insurance company, they're all in this merry-go-round. Nobody can get off unless the whole thing stops at once and they all get off together. And no single player has the power to do that.
Is what we did illegal?
No. Not technically.
You're such a bad liar. Lauren and I both bought cheap insulin in Mexico, but we might have been breaking the law. According to the FDA, in most circumstances, it's illegal for individuals to import drugs into the U.S. for personal use. Though customs will generally allow Americans to bring a 90-day supply of medication back home. Good haul or not?
Yeah, pretty good.
Would you come back and do this again?
I would come back again.
You would come back and
I would.
Yeah, okay.